John 1, verse 1 says, where he writes, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning." So John is saying this Word, who was with God in the beginning, stepped into human skin. Okay, he became flesh, he became human and entered our world. Think about how surprising that is. That the one who had no limits, who existed co-equally with God in the beginning, chose a body that got tired, that felt hungry, that experienced cold or being hot. The one who shaped the oceans came into the world as a baby. He had to learn how to walk. The one who designed nerves and muscles and every part of our human being came and felt splinters and stubbed toes and so much more. He became Jesus of Nazareth without ceasing to be the eternal Son. This is an incredibly profound reality of the divine Word that John talks about in this passage. The Son coming and being fully human among us. Are you tracking so far? I was reminded, as I was preparing this message, of an event that happened in our house just over a year ago. One afternoon, I was sitting in our living room and I was reading the what is the newspaper, The Voice. And I looked at Gloria, and she had just turned 3. It was just over a year ago. And she was like fully committed in her pretend doctor shift that she was doing. She had received a doctor's kit for her birthday that summer. And she had her plastic stethoscope around her neck bouncing. She had this tiny little pocket in her shirt, and she had like a syringe sticking out of it at like a really awkward angle. But she was legit. She had her little doctor's glasses perched on her nose, and in her mind, she was one appointment away from saving her entire stuffed animal community, one at a time, of course. Then I heard the sound every parent knows, right? That tiny, dramatic little sigh followed by a "uh-oh." So I looked over, and I saw her sitting there cross-legged, head down, staring down at her broken doctor's glasses in her hand. Like she just lost a patient. The tiny little clip on the side of the glasses had come apart, and there she was trying to fit it back together with her small hands. She didn't have quite enough oomph to push it together. She pinched it and she squinted, and I was just watching her. And she had her tongue out of her mouth, like at the exact right angle for the concentration. She even began whispering instructions to the pieces, like, "You have to go in there and stay there, okay?" Even that didn't work. So at one point, she even tried blowing on the glasses, and I thought, maybe this is some kind of advanced technique she learned at the toddler school for doctors. But eventually, she came to me with these pieces of glasses in her hand, and she said, "Papa, my new doctor's glasses broke, and I can't fix them because I'm too little. I need you. You know how to fix all this stuff." Followed by a high-pitched, "Right, Papa?" Whew. Well, you do know how to fix all this stuff, right, Papa? If only she knew, right? A ripped book page or maybe a hole in the drywall, a tiny hole, or toy glasses on a good day. I wish she knew how many things in this world I can't fix, like hurt and broken hearts and complicated days and the ache of the world that's too heavy for any person's shoulders. But in her world, I am Papa Fix-It, the one who knows what to do when something breaks, the one who could make the broken glasses whole again. That simple trust tugged at my heart. I was reminded that we are all often like Glory, staring at the pieces of life that used to fit together but no longer do. We want to make it fit. We try so hard, but we simply don't understand why it's not fitting together the way it once did, or maybe it never has. Our hearts and our minds are not capable of fixing what was or is broken. So God did what only God could do. He came to us. someone capable, someone wiser, someone who knows how we are made from the inside out. Jesus became human in every real way. Fully God, fully man, close enough to understand all our tears, strong enough to repair what no one else could or can. And he was the only one who could accomplish the saving that humanity needs. Well, the second of the four realities that this passage teaches us this morning of Christ among us is that in taking on flesh and becoming fully human, Jesus lived among us. He lived among us. Now, John continues in the passage and he writes that Jesus, or that he, dwelt among us. Now, when John tells us in his gospel that the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, he's saying something far richer than the simple move of somebody into your neighborhood, okay? The phrase dwelt, or some translation uses the word lived, that John uses is translated from the original Greek word that paints a much more vivid picture, one that John's original audience would have connected with in profound ways. See, the Greek word here used for dwelt is eskenosin, okay? Eskenosin. Can everybody say that? Eskenosin. I don't know if we're saying that right, but that's the word. And it actually means tabernacle or to pitch a tent, okay? It actually paints the picture of somebody arriving with all of their camping gear ready to go on their back. They've got their poles in hand, and they're finding a spot right in the middle of your camp, okay? Right in the middle. They're not setting up camp far away, and that's the sense of the word that John chooses. Jesus didn't keep his distance. He didn't build a palace on some faraway hill to simply observe humanity or look down at us to bring word back to the Father or hide behind holy curtains. No, he pitched his tent. He tabernacled right next to ours. And for anyone who knew the story of Israel in John's audience, that kind of language, that word eskenosin, would have rung like a bell. It would have painted a very clear picture of Jesus' intention and role amongst people. This language and imagery that John chooses would instantly pull the early readers back to the Old Testament teaching of the wilderness, of the Israelites, right? That sacred tent where God's presence rested among his people. The tabernacle was the place where heaven brushed the earth, where glory, God, pitched its tent right in the middle of the camp. The book of Exodus describes this for us really well. It says in Exodus 40, verse 34, the cloud covered the tent of meeting, and the cloud of glory, the Lord, filled the tabernacle. It was the closest thing that anyone could get to seeing God dwell in their midst. But even then, access to the tabernacle came with lots of limitations. Only certain people could go near it. Only the priest could enter. There was different layers. And only the high priest could step into the most holy of holy places, which was sort of the final room in the tabernacle. And at that, could only go into that place once a year. See, ordinary people had to observe this from a distance while someone else went in on their behalf. It wasn't about worth, but it certainly felt that way, right? The holy space was set apart, it was guarded, it was veiled, reminding the people how far humanity had drifted away from God who loved them. Then hear what John says again in his gospel. He says, he dwelt among us. He tabernacled, he pitched his tent. Jesus pitched his tent. Only this time he didn't sit behind curtains or assign gatekeepers to keep ordinary people away. He didn't place a veil between himself and the people. He didn't choose a select few that could participate and turn the rest away. He chose disciples, but he still welcomed everyone. John wants us to see that Jesus is doing the tabernacle all over again. Only this time, in the flesh, in person, in blood. And he is the living, breathing fulfillment of everything that tent in the wilderness pointed toward. It's so cool, but it's infinitely better. Why? Because Jesus wasn't the tabernacle for the priests or for the spiritually elite. He became the tabernacle for every single person, for everyone, for shepherds, for outsiders, for prostitutes, for every broken person, the shamed, the curious. Anyone who came near found him already reaching toward them.